I'm going to walk you through the basic settings that I use on an RC50 for my live performances. Let's get started with the input mode. When I'm recording my guitar in mono, and the reason why I do that is when my guitar is output to the sound system, it's just a mono feed, just a single feed. I'm not bothering with stereo. And the other thing is, if I'm recording on my RC50 in mono, it gives me 44 minutes of recording time as opposed to half of that, 22 minutes of recording time if I was to record all my loops in stereo. In order to adjust the input mode or the way that my RC50 is going to record, I go to my input mode button, which is right here, push that, use my parameter key to move it to input record mode, and I set it from stereo, which is I think the way it is when you get it out of the box, to mono, which now gives me 44 minutes of recording time as opposed to the 22. I'll exit out of that, and that's going to be permanently saved for me unless I was to change it. The other thing that's really important to me as well is I use primarily two different types of looping. I'll record a loop and then I'll either overdub on top of the loop that's there, so I'm going to add another guitar on top of the guitar that I'm already have recorded, or I will replace what is on the recording with a brand new recording, and I can do it while the song's being played. This replace feature is amazing. So how that works is I'll record a loop on phrase 1, and then I'll play it back, and then I can place something on top of that loop. And when I do place something on top of that loop, if I want it to become the new loop to replace the phrase or the loop that's already there, I hit this overdub pedal, which instead of overdubbing, adding sound on sound, I'm going to replace what's there with the new recording, and that's by initiating what we call the overdub mode in replace mode. So overdub allows me to record on top of an existing loop, so it adds more to the loop, or I can completely replace it by having it in replace mode. Now, what I do is I have an external pedal, which is this one here, an FS6, which allows me to add more pedals to my RC50. And I'll assign this function to one of my external pedals. So in order to do that, I go to this button here, hit that switch, and I use my parameter key to go to either Control 1, which is one of my pedals, or Control 2, which is another pedal, and I can specify what I want each of those pedals to do. So what I've done for pretty much my whole system is had it so one pedal controls my overdub mode, and the other pedal I've assigned to my guide. So my guide is turned on and off with the other external pedal on that foot switch. So that's what I use that external pedal for. There is another external pedal that I use as well, and this is this pedal here. This pedal is not made by Roland or Boss. The Boss pedal is really expensive. This one's very inexpensive. It's made by M Audio. It's called an EXP, and it works really, really well with the RC50. It's not as well made, unfortunately, and I'm always worried that it's going to fail and it's going to break down on me because it's not as well made. But I've had it for the length of my RC50, which is quite a few years, and it hasn't failed me yet. So I've got to hand it to M Audio for a plastic pedal. It's hanging in there pretty good. Okay, what that pedal allows me to do is it allows me to turn the volume off on the loop that's playing, which is a great function if I have a break in the song and all of a sudden I want it to stop, but not necessarily stop the loop from where it is, but just to create silence in a loop and then bring it back, or if I want to fade out a loop. So that volume control allows me to do it. And in order to set that up, again, I just hit my control expansion pedal button here, and here is the setting expansion function. For the whole system, I want that pedal to control the patch level, to turn it up or to turn it down, and that's how I do it there. There's also some additional settings for it the level of that pedal, I could have the minimum at 0 to go all the way up to a maximum of 100, or I can make it so I could even make my patches that are recorded twice as loud. I could set that for 200, or I could have my minimum level so it just comes down to, say, 80%, which would be really good if I record a part and I want it to be quieter. I can just put the pedal all the way up, and it would move my minimum volume to 80%, which would be a good level for me to improvise or solo against. So that's what I use my pedal for, but I just have it so the volume goes right off, or I can fade it right on to 100% of what the original recording was. But this unit, the RC50, really allows you to go beyond what you'd ever need, and it allows you to be very, very creative. So I'm going to escape out of that. So that's the volume pedal that I use. So those are my external pedals. My external pedals are plugged in here. This is the one for the expansion pedal. This is the one for the additional pedal similar to these. If I wanted, I could add 2 more pedals by plugging into this expansion control 3 and 4 pedal, but then I wouldn't be able to use the expansion pedal. So that's plenty of pedals for what I need externally for my RC50. The next thing, I use my guide as a in-ear monitor metronome. I don't use the guide, even though the drum sounds really decent in the RC50, so I could use it as a drummer, a drum machine if I want. I really don't like using drum machines at all, so I just use it as a guide. So it gives me a click that I'll listen to in my in-ear monitors, and it'll also give the band a click to listen to in their in-ear monitors if I'm playing with a band. So then we're all listening and playing to the click in order for myself and my loops to line up with everything that we're doing live. This guide level, number one, the volume is always full. I'll just control it by an external mixer. I output my guide to the sub out, and that way I'm not going to hear it with my main output, which is my loops going out. So it's going to a separate output on a mixing board to give myself my monitor mix. I can put in as much or as little as I want at any time. Most of my tunes are in 4/4 time, so when I go to my guide pattern, I usually select just a hi-hat pattern. I don't need anything fancy, and the band definitely doesn't want to hear congas and drum fills and everything in their in-ear monitors. They just want to hear a click, so I use a hi-hat. Hopefully in the next version that Roland comes out with, they'll actually have a side stick or just a stick for a click that we could use as a click as opposed to a hi-hat, because it'd be a little easier to hear. But the hi-hat works fine for what we do, so that's great. Let's take a look at the system values for right here. Contrast, of course, I like to have it as bright as I can so I can see it. We'll flip through the parameters. The system patch extent, I'm only using 55 different patches at the moment, so I don't want to have to flip through 100 patches to find something, so I can shrink how many patches that I need to use. The RC50 allows you up to 99 different patches, and each of those 99 different patches can have 3 phrase loops, so that gives you a lot of loops. But I found I've never been able to fill it up with that much material. Also, the RC50 doesn't really have enough space for me to fill up the machine with that much material. Again, hopefully in a newer model, they'll even give us more space in the way things are going these days. I'm sure that they will. This function here I use all the time. It says record pedal activate, record pedal 1 activate. So what it means is when I push my pedal to record my loop and I push it again, the loop just plays. So I basically push it once, it allows me to record the loop. When I push it again, it plays the loop, and it's as simple as that. So push it once, records, push it again, it plays back the loop. However, there are times, and I'm going to change this by just using the dial, where I'll want to record the first loop, push the button, and it will overdub another loop on top of that. That means it'll record the original loop, and then when I push the button, it allows me to record on top of that, sound on sound, guitar on guitar, another part right on top of that. If I had my overdub mode set to replace instead of set to overdub, then when I start recording my first loop, it records. When I push the button again, it will actually replace what was just recorded. Okay, so that's that function there. Let's move on. My input out. Now for me, I mute my input out, which means my guitar goes, the signal from my guitar goes into the instrument input here, and then you don't hear my guitar out the main output. And there's a reason for that. I've got my guitar going into my preamp, my mixer, and from there it goes to the PA system. So I have a line that goes out of my preamp, which goes back into my instrument input, which is my guitar coming in. But the guitar is already being heard through the sound system, so I don't want it coming back through the main output on my RC50.